is to pass this Glass-Steagall. It can be done. There is a bill before the House. It was introduced by the Ohio Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur. It's called House Resolution 1489, H.R. 1489, and it's a very simple bill. It says restore Glass-Steagall the way it was before it was taken apart by the Gramm-Leach-Bliley bill in 1989.
Hey, Mike, we have a caller.
Okay.
Hey, caller.
Yes.
Who am I talking with?
My question is this: Congress doesn't seem to want to do anything at all about Obama and all his illegal activities. So how can we get him out of office? Real soon. If Congress,
you're right. The Congress is perhaps one of the most cowardly and corrupt Congresses in our history. There are some good people in there. There's some people who know Obama has to be out, but they're afraid to take on the impeachment question. So, for instance, we now have 54 co-sponsors of this Glass-Steagall bill. But those people won't call for the impeachment of Obama yet, and that's your job. We have to get the fire under our Congress to let them know that this guy has to be removed from office, either under the 25th Amendment, which is that he's psychologically incapable of governing, or by impeachment, or keep in mind the way Nixon was removed. The way Nixon was removed was not by the anger of his opposition party, the Democrats. It's when the Republican leadership itself recognized that this guy was incapable of governing. And Howard Baker and other Republicans went to Nixon and said, resign, go home in peace, or we're going to join the impeachment, and you're out, and disgraced. And he quit the next day, actually. That could be done today if the Congress, especially the Democrats, the cowardly, stupid Democrats, who know this has to be done, but are afraid to take him on, afraid to take on Wall Street, really, which is what it is. Then, if they don't, then they're going to pay the consequences. If they really think that they can go into an election next year, as was said before, there probably wouldn't even be one, but if there were, then you're going to end up with exactly the kind of madman Republican winning the election, because they have this fool running on running for the Democrats. If you got him out, you'd have a new candidate. You'd have people arise as decent candidates, probably from the Clinton circle, who would have the courage to fight for Glass-Steagall, who would have the courage to end these mad, insane wars and this push for World War III.
Well, isn't Congress now mostly socialist?
No, it's not socialism. It's cowards. They're cowards. They've effectively thrown in the towel on what are one after another moves by Obama and by Wall Street to effectively take away the Congress, the power of the Congress, illegally, against our Constitution.
Right.
And turning it over to a group of private, mostly bank-run institutions. Look, there's several cases of this that come up in the impeachment bill that we've put together. One of them is this crazy super Congress itself, which is supposed to be coming up with their plan for how to murder off millions of Americans, what they call a budget-cutting exercise by Thanksgiving. This is illegal.
That super Congress is illegal in itself.
That's right. The Constitution is very clear. It's our Congress, a House of Representatives in particular, that has to initiate any spending bill, any bill having to do with taxes and revenues or spending. And here they've taken a group of 12 congressmen chosen, and given the power to massively change our economic conditions, massively gutting our basic fundamental services, potentially gutting our military, gutting our space program, gutting our Social Security, our Medicaid and Medicare, murderous programs being handed to a group of 12. This is the way. This is the core of the crime of the Obama health bill. It's not the thing most discussed. People talk about so-called socialism and forcing people to buy to buy insurance and stuff. That's
right.
Those are problems, I agree. But the core of the health bill, which makes it equivalent to Hitler's health program, and it's why we put that mustache on Obama to make him look like Hitler in our posters around the country, was because he set up a thing called IPAB, the Independent Price Advisory Board, which was a private group of individuals appointed by the president who would have the power, above and beyond our Congress, to determine what categories of American citizens they consider not worthy of health care.
Oh, God,
as Hitler said, those people who were useless eaters because they weren't contributing to society, and therefore we should not keep them alive but let them die.
So basically everybody would be, or most people over a certain age then would be marched to the gas chamber, so to speak.
The elderly and the poor and the disabled and the mentally demented and so forth, these people would be the first to go. This is fascism in its ugly core.
Oh, it's beyond.
That was the key to this health bill. And what they've done with the Super Congress is essentially the same, taking away the powers of the Congress, given to the Congress by our Constitution, by very wise founding fathers who recognized you needed a division, you needed a separation of power, you needed somebody to check a president. We purposely had a very strong executive. That was important. But you had to have not only the legal check in the court system, but the political check of elected representatives who represent the population and are answerable to the population, who have the power to override the president through impeachment, but also through all of these regulations, giving the Congress the unique power. That's all being taken away. It's being stripped away, and Americans are sort of sitting there scratching their head. Now, on the other hand, I think it's important that we think about the fact that this is a very unique moment in history. Most Americans and most people around the world recognize one way or another that something horrible is taking place. This wasn't true a few years ago, but it is now. They recognize that the economy is bankrupt. They see that Europe is in total panic. The financial system cannot survive. It's collapsing in front of our eyes. And there are those people who are arguing that we simply have to treat our country the way they're treating Greece right now, making it a protectorate, having the IMF and the EU go in there and say, you must lay off these people, cut their wages, cut their social payments, cut their medical care, let them die. And, of course, these populations are not going to accept it. You're going to be seeing revolt in Greece, and now Italy is under attack this week. And, of course, Italy is much bigger. And it is happening here, and it will get worse if we don't act now to prevent it.
Well, I don't know how just the American citizen by themselves can do it. They need the help of Congress, and if Congress won't help or won't do it, I don't know what more the general.
In moments of crisis, you need great leadership, and I can attest that LaRouche is that leadership. LaRouche is recognized by many wise people here and by many wise people around the world, including in Europe, but especially in Russia and in China. They recognize that this is the one man who represents what America has been, who represents what our founding fathers intended America to be, what America was through much of its existence.
Well, I just hope and I pray he can do something.
Well, join call us and help us out and get on board, get our literature, help get it out, and burn your congressman's rear end to pass Glass-Steagall and to get this guy out of office.
Oh, I'll do everything I possibly can. But if we impeach him, that won't nullify all of his, the things that he signed.
Not automatically, but in the process, we will be, in fact, we could go through it now if we have time. The process of impeachment will be laying out how these various things have been absolutely illegal, criminal, unconstitutional.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to get into that. Thank you very much for calling in. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you very much. You're so very informative. I thank you again.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
That won't nullify all.
All right. I do. I want to get into this. We're running really low on time. but I want to just kind of hit on all seven. There's 7 counts in this that are very important, to do. I'm just going to run through them real quick, Mike, and then we'll talk about them after I run through them, okay?
Okay.
All right, count 1. Violation of the Constitution, provision that Congress has the unique responsibility to declare war as well as of the 1973 War Powers Resolution. Keeping in mind, of course, that Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution grants the Congress the power to declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water. Okay? Count 2. Violation of the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution declares that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Count number 3. Violation of the Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution declares that the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue upon probable cause. All right. Conspiracy to commit crimes against humanity. In 1946, the United States subscribed to the definition of crimes against humanity utilized by the Nuremberg Military Tribunal, which read as follows: murder, extermination, enslavement, deportation, and other inhumane acts committed against any civilian population, whether or not in violation of the domestic law of the country were perpetrated. This standard was applied to medical care with the inclusion of systematic undernutrition and inadequate provision of surgical and medical services.